ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Jared, hey, we're gonna need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of the stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
That's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
Welcome to Good Food. At Atlanta Steaks and Seafood, you'll find the highest quality meats from a variety of delicious cuts. Tomahawks, salmon fillets, ribeyes, and plenty more to choose from. With an easy-to-use mobile-friendly website, selecting your pick of meat is made quick and easy. And don't forget, worrying about your dinner is a thing of the past. Check out some of the amazing subscription packages that Atlanta Steaks and Seafood has to offer. Fresh steak and seafood straight to your door. Order online at atlantasteaksandseafood.com.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, The Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it is that time of the week. Well, we moved him up. Life gets busy. Tyler Wyatt at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture. Go follow him on X or Twitter, whatever the hell we're calling it today. Talking some college hoops. The calendar, Saturday, turns to March 1st. Let the madness begin. But last night, whether it was Michigan State from three-quarter court for the walk-off or Tyler Wyatt's Kentucky Wildcats, big boy win and a tough spot, seeing that they got #1 Auburn coming to town. Game day, of course, the assumption will be there at Rupp Arena. Ken Palm's got the Wildcats beating #1 Auburn by 5. Headliner today, can the Kentucky Wildcats declaw #1 Tigers? We shall see. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. That is free, of course. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 6 flavors in all. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconuts. And AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Head on over to Facebook. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith. While you're there, jump on over to AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Steaks, chops, fillets, seafood, appetizers, wine. Terry will take good care of you. Make sure you take a look at the 4 subscription packages. Start eating healthy now. You missed January, you missed February. Saturday's March. Check a box, set it and forget it. Every 30 days, Terry will take good care of you. So without further ado, Mr. Tyler Wyatt. What's up, T?
What's happening, JD? I like this poker themed background we have here on the breakfast bankroll. No tables flipped over in this picture, unlike the main event at Cherokee. But yeah, I've been around poker for a long time, and I I would have to go by if I was around a poker table that was flipped over, I might have had too many Viva seltzers to remember. I think this was the only time I've ever seen multiple tables flipped over in a poker room. But yeah, exciting weekend on the poker table. But yeah, exciting week and weekend in basketball here the last couple of days as well.
Well, let's stay there because obviously that went viral. Cherokee, man, I thought of you right away. What happens? I mean, you can go to the tapes, you can take assumptions of kind of sort of what everyone's stack is, but what actually happened, Tyler?
Yeah, so it was about almost a 3-hour delay. There were a lot of, anytime you're at, it was down to 65 players. I think 64, 65 players were left. Day 3 of them, day 2 main event, technically day 3 of playing down to the final table, which finished on Monday. But you have a pretty good idea of the chip stacks at your table. You don't know exactly. So if a guy tells you that he has a number, most of the other guys at the table or girls have a pretty good idea. So, there was quite a bit of honesty. There was some camera footage that was pulled, but it actually, that part of the process was pretty seamless. But yeah, it was a guy that was not playing in the event. He played the $400 or $600 event on Saturday. So he was a player technically, but he was not in the tournament room playing when he decided he was going to start screaming that we're all sinners and God is the way and go ham on a couple of tables. Yeah, it was interesting. It went viral. Good for Cherokee. It is one. The field set a World Series circuit record for number of entries in the main event. This was a big last 2 weeks for Cherokee for poker. I think that we talked at a couple of different occasions about the health of poker in general. I think you're seeing that now just in some of these, some of the circuit stops and all these other tours that are up and Run Good Tours, a great tour. Moneymaker, good friend of ours, has a really good tour. Tony that runs that tour does a great job. Yeah, poker's in great hands. I don't mind seeing this. Bring a little spotlight. It was good to see Cherokee get some attention. And whether it was something we're used to seeing, no, but yeah, exciting times at the poker table. Basketball, yeah, you mentioned a couple of games yesterday. Michigan State, I needed that one. Kentucky did not play that one. My number was pretty much dead on it being a coin flip, but happy to see Otega Owe get some revenge. Revenge maybe was a bit played up, obviously transferring from Oklahoma. Still friends with a number of players on that roster, but good to see him step up there in that second half. He took over that game. It was kind of a one-on-one matchup there with him and Moore going back and forth. But great, because that possession there at the end, he was going to find a way to get a bucket, and then he got a piece of the ball there on the defensive side there. At the buzzer, was interesting. At ending there was kind of some pushing and shoving, but yeah, ultimately big win for Kentucky there. Oklahoma still trying to claw back into the tournament conversation with a win there. I was looking at some of the live metrics that some of the the future casters of tournaments that they do. With a win there, they were almost 70% according to a number of different tournament guys. Still have a chance there right now. They're in that 20 to 30% chance of making making March Madness. This is a conference that very healthy right now. Big Ten, as you mentioned, Michigan State. That game last night was a great game. Big Ten conference is healthy. Big E. I mean, basketball is. We talked about the poker being back. Basketball is back, baby. It's always been back in our hearts, but we're getting back to those glory days of I wasn't around for the 70s. I didn't get to see the some of those great teams and dynasties, but the 80s and 90s, we're getting back to the Dukes and the Kentuckys and there's a lot of names that are coming back that have kind of been maybe off to the side here for the last couple of years.
Well, I'm smiling ear to ear because I remember the 80s, of course, Patrick Ewing, Rolly Massimino. We remember John Thompson with Georgetown, Louis Carnesecca. I remember I was a freshman in college in '85, Villanova versus Georgetown, and for some reason I took Villanova plus the 9, and I was just like the only guy in the room. I think I had $50 on it, and shocked to witness what happened there. I got a lot of ways to go here. It's kind of funny. I wake up when you get this old, you wake up a lot during the night and then you finally fall into some deep sleep. I had this dream last night that I was really, in argument's sake, defending UConn to a bunch of people. And the reality is, a handful of weeks ago here, Tyler, we gave out St. John's at 47-1. We gave them out at 9 or 10-1 to get to the Final Four. In my eyes, they're the beast of the East. And of course, last night we had Butler plus 3.5 first half. They don't cover, but of course they covered the 7 last night and it lands on 6. But my point with UConn, Tyler, is I'm going to say this. Danny blew it this year at the point guard position. They don't handle the press well at all. They're not a good matchup for St. John's. McNeely has shined. Ball has shined. And I'll say this. Caravan made a mistake. He should have stayed in the NBA. He has been, I'll say it, he is not what I expected this year.
Yeah, Reed has played, there's guys that have stepped up and played kind of reserve minutes, but it's been a team that's dominated by, 5 guys. I guess Johnson comes off the bench there and contributes. But you're right. Caravan probably cost himself, I don't know, $1 million, maybe more, 1.5, probably on a rookie deal. This draft is also not super strong. There's top heavy, but yeah, I mean, he was going to get drafted higher if he had left last season. He was, his stock was definitely at a much higher position than what it is now. This is a UConn does have the luxury of they're going to be big favorites in 2 of the 3 that they got left, Seton Hall and what's the other one? Providence, and then they got Marquette sandwiched, in the middle there. They get Marquette at home, I believe. They won't be a big dog. I don't want to say it's a game that will define where they are, seed wise. If they were to beat Marquette at home and finish out 3-0, that could be the type of game that springboards them in to not only the Big East tournament, but gives them, a little bit of confidence, kind of some renewed energy. The season hasn't been. It's going to kind of go back 2 years ago. Last season, it was just a dominant team. The year before, there was a lot of highs and there was a lot of lows in the regular season, but they finished that season strong. Got in the regular season, got into the Big East, and then we know what happened there. They just, they kind of run out. This is a game, not the one on Saturday, but that midweek game against Marquette, that could be a huge game for this UConn team. I'm not saying if they lose that game that they're one and done in the Big East, and then that, it's kind of a nervous selection Sunday to see where you have to go and play. But if they beat Marquette there, you go 3-0 to end would that be what, 4-0? 4-0 to end the loss there to St. John's a couple weeks ago. But yeah, if you finish the season 4-0, that win against Marquette would help your seed in the Big East tournament, which obviously makes the path to a deeper run in the conference tournament a little easier. I hate to bring Calipari back. This is one of those Big East tournaments where if you're UConn, do you want to go to the finals? I mean,
no.
This team has not been healthy. You don't want to go one and done because that really brings Sunday. They're not in fear of missing the tournament, in my opinion. There were some talks of that a couple of week or so ago by some national guys. I thought that was pretty off. They're still top 40, top 30 in my power ranking somehow. Well, actually 32nd. This is a team, though, that, with a big win against Marquette, maybe you win 1 or 2 in the Big East and then you get a little bit of a break. I don't know that they want to get, I hate to say that you don't want to win a conference championship, that, maybe they could use an extra couple of days there, but win against Marquette and see what happens there. This is a team, they do have the pieces. I still believe that they can make a run. This is a season we've seen. You can go back to yesterday. You don't have to go back that far to see teams that are 8, 9, 10-point underdogs beating teams by 15, 20 points. This season is up and down. There's teams that are playing really good right now that you don't want to play. Duke beating everybody by 30. Some of that is maybe the weakness of the ACC. But, there's some teams, St. John's, you mentioned, that I would love to have a 40+ to 1 ticket with St. John's right now. That team is, I don't want to jinx them. I don't want to say that, they're destined to make a deep run, but they're playing as good a basketball as anybody right now. The SEC, you saw Alabama, who looked like they were at the peak, lose a couple in a row. So, you've seen some teams show vulnerability that are in the top 10, top 15. This is a UConn team, while they don't have a ranking beside them, which is, unusual to see right now after the last couple of years, they're capable from a roster standpoint of going up and beating anyone. I think, you take care of business on Saturday, focusing, and if you can get a win against Marquette, that's a big resume booster. That helps the Selection Sunday narrative. But yeah, this is a UConn team that's, similar to the 23, 24 or 22, 23 season. But it's how you finish. Doesn't matter how you get there. Find a way to do that. I do think from a coaching perspective, UConn game in and game out has an advantage over just about anyone. He's shown a lot of frustration visibly this season, which is something that we haven't. I'm not as tied into the program on a day-to-day basis as you are, but from an outsider looking in, it looks like he's shown a little more emotion. He's always been an emotional guy. He's gotten upset quick, it seems like, or quicker now. That comes with losing. No one likes to lose. I think, no coach will say, yeah, losses are great. But this is just, it's been a difficult season. He was, it's go back and look at the preseason top 15 from late October and look at it from, starting the week on after Sunday. There are a lot of teams that were in the top 10 that aren't ranked. UConn's not alone in that boat. Kansas, preseason number 1. North Carolina, preseason top 10, preseason top 5 in some polls. UConn is not alone in that the teams that came in with a lot of hype who are now, I don't want to say struggling to finish, but they're trying to find, whatever it is to get back on the right path. UConn's still a dangerous team. I'm not writing them off. North Carolina, I've written them off, a while back. Kansas, up and down. I never know game in and game out what you're going to get out of that Kansas team. It seems like there's just a lot of dysfunction in the locker room there. I've heard some really bad things about Hunter Dickinson there with the locker room, that there's just a lot of, I don't want to say divas, because some of those guys seem like they're pretty there's just a lot of things in that locker room that are going wrong. UConn not alone in that teams that came in with a lot of high expectations that are going to fail to meet those. Season not over. Kansas, big game on Saturday. It's a Kansas team that Texas Tech, I think the books will open Kansas as a small favorite. I hope they do. I'm going to back the Red Raiders. But this is a Kansas team with a win on Saturday. It's Kansas who struggled and been blown out by some teams that you didn't think they had Kansas State up 30 on them. There's a lot of games that Kansas has been big favorites. They've lost outright. If they beat Texas Tech, it's a top 10, top 15 quad 1 win, and then you're like, oh well, maybe Kansas is back. Is Kansas not one? Despite their struggles and UConn, and there's a lot of other teams in that same boat, I still, if I'm another coach, I don't want to see them in the second round or the Sweet 16 of March Madness. That kind of reminds me of that Wichita State Kentucky team, that Kentucky team that got in as an 8. These teams are in the similar position. You're going to see a team like Kansas or a team like UConn who's going to be lower, who's going to be a 6-7 seed probably, maybe an 8. That you don't, if you're the one, you're like, yeah, I don't want to play them. They're an 8 seed, but they're not an 8 seed in terms of talent. There's a lot of teams in that boat. UConn, Kansas are certainly two of the top of those teams.
I was smiling because I remember, like it was yesterday, I was at the Bellagio on that Sunday for that Kentucky Wichita State game, and I was the year after Providence hosted the first 2 weeks, and I was front row right next to the Wichita State team, who eventually lost to Miami that year. They won their first game. They were down 24 to Miami, and they came all the way back, took a 1-point lead late in the second half. They ran out of gas. But you're right. You're going to see a lot of the big marquee names, 6, 7, 8 seeds. It's almost like when they're setting up the brackets, you're going to see that 1 versus 8, and it's going to be a UConn versus an Auburn. It's going to be, one of these high Kansas versus maybe a Duke or something, and you're going to scratch your heads because this UConn team, everyone thinks they're going to flip that switch because he has the recipe. Go back 3 years ago. I'm in Vegas with Sharapian, Julian Edlow, Peralt, and we're at the MGM, and we're going through Thursday's games. And every team was brought up, whether they could, how they're going to win, how they're going to lose. But New Mexico State, who was 6.5-point underdogs to UConn, and beat them outright. The light bulb went on as I'm heading back to my room. I'm like, shit, UConn's not going to just not cover this game. They're probably going to lose outright, and they did. Then 2 years ago, they lose in the semis in the Big East tournament. The best thing that ever could happen. Gave them a couple extra days to regroup. 6-0. They cover every game as well. And then, as you said, last year, just an absolute freight train, Tyler. The teams up top, the Auburns, the Dukes got the Player of the Year, Cooper Flag. We know that. And then from there, how far do you trust the rest? This Houston team, the SEC is so deep. Every time you put Auburn through your brackets to the Final Four in the championship game, someone sneaks up and bites them in the ass. This team is absolutely loaded. The SEC is so deep. You're going to face them on Saturday. My point is, you're going to call me crazy here. I trust St. John's the most right now in the Big East. I think the team that is built, call me crazy here, for a long run in the SEC is the Florida team, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, well, and like I said earlier, you don't have to go back to see, Florida and losing it. Georgia's a good team. Georgia's, in the tournament right now. I think probably last 4 in, or maybe they're the next 4. Maybe they can afford to lose one coming down and still make the tournament. But Georgia was up, 25 points on that Florida team. So it's you're talking about a top 3 team, a team that's in all likelihood going to be a last 1 or a 2 seed, who's down by almost 30 points to a team that's barely going to get in the tournament. That's how tight the margins are for upper echelon, upper tier teams and the teams that are, trying to get into the tournament this year, saying that the tournament is wide open. Yeah, in terms of teams I trust, St. John's, they have all of the boxes that I look for. Coaching, they have a guy that can get a bucket anytime that they need one. They have a guy that you trust with the ball at the end of a game. If you need to score a tie ball game, they got that guy, and they play great defense. Auburn, I was a very good friend with Bruce Pearl's daughter, so was around the Pearl household a lot when he first took this job. Love Bruce. Great friends with him. Great friends with Steve Forbes because of Bruce. And I hope he doesn't hear this. I don't trust Bruce to win an Elite Eight or a Final Four game just yet. They check all the other boxes. Great defense. They've got a guy that can have the ball, to get a bucket there at the end. You could almost, when you're filling out your tournament bracket, you could literally just have the head coach's name instead of the team and pick it based on who, of your opinion on who's the better coach, and you're probably going to do just as good. Izzo made so much money in tournaments when Michigan State has been underseeded, just betting on Tom Izzo. Doesn't matter who the team is. Doesn't matter who's the other coach. All right, doesn't matter what players they have on the team. Who's the coach? Give me Izzo. Houston, great defensive team. We've seen them make some runs here in the last couple of years. They got a guy that can handle the ball. Do I trust Sampson? I don't think so. But there's just not a lot of coaches that, right now that I trust, a lot of teams. St. John's is one that has crept up slowly over the last, 6 weeks to be, now they're inside the top 10, top 8, ranking wise. They're a team you don't want to play. Texas Tech is a dangerous team. Iowa State, we've seen all these teams in the last week or two lose big games when they're big favorites. So yeah, I mean, there are just a handful of teams right now. Duke is one. I think Shire is a really, really good coach. Obviously, you played under one of the greatest, or probably the greatest ever. You learned a lot as an assistant coach under him, and the fact that Coach K said, "I want you to be the one that takes over," I'm going to trust that Coach K knows the makeup of a coach. So I think Shire is a guy that is a guy that you can trust. Obviously, they have 3 lottery picks, and they have the number 1 pick and the best player in college basketball. Pretty easy to put Duke up there. But yeah, I mean, there's just there's only a handful of teams right now that I would feel comfortable taking against. Without seeing the bracket, if you give me the top 6 or 7 teams blind against the field, I probably bet it, but I don't know that I love it.
You got a couple minutes before your weekly Knoxville radio spot. What's your card say for today? Any leans, any numbers that look a little off, and closing thought, obviously, on Saturday when your Wildcats host Auburn?
Yeah, a couple games. UAB at Wichita State. Wichita State is small favorite right now, 1.5. Looks like most books across the odds screen. I actually have UAB a tiny favorite, almost 1, -0.8. So I backed the Blazers there at Wichita State. Rutgers, a couple of guys that you'll see in the NBA in a cup. You have 2. I don't know that both Harper and Bailey are lottery picks. You got two guys that will play in the NBA and will play a lot of minutes. And you're a team that's barely 500. That tells you all you need to know, that coaching means a lot in college basketball. They go to Michigan. Michigan, an ugly, ugly win against Nebraska the other night, a game played in the 40s. If you watched it, you earned every penny if you were on the Michigan side there. Rutgers at Michigan. The books have Michigan at 9.5. I have Michigan almost 12, 11.9. So I backed Michigan. And then Western Kentucky goes to UTEP. UTEP, I have 7.7, about a possession over where that number is at 5.5. And then Elon at Monmouth was the last one. Elon right now, I have a small favorite. Books on the odds screen. Looks live scrolling the odds screen when there's 100 games is no good. Monmouth 1.5, 2-point favorite at most books. We have Elon a small favorite, so we're backing Elon there. About 70 points higher rated in our power rating than Monmouth. If you're going to let me have some points, a pretty easy decision to back Elon.
And final score for Saturday: Kentucky knock off Auburn.
I've got Auburn 4.8. So it'll be interesting to see where the books decide to open that one, if they want to let us get Auburn under a couple possessions. But yeah, that game's going to be played in the 80s. Total should open, I would say, 165, 166. I'm going to go against my Wildcats, unfortunately. I'm going to say 88, 84 Auburn. You'd be right around that number and pretty close to the total, unfortunately. Not a bad loss. Quad 1 loss, right? Everybody's talking about quad 1 losses or quad 1 wins. A loss is a loss in my book. But yeah, I think Auburn does get a win in Lexington on Saturday.
All right, Tyler, I gave you 30 seconds before your next spot. Can't thank you enough. We'll catch up with you next week.
TJD.
Tyler Wyatt, go follow him at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture, one of the best in the business. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot.
CSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. You know, it's crazy because, you know, we're getting closer to March. On Saturday, we turn the page. March Madness, the last regular week or so of the regular seasons, then the conference tournaments start. And then, of course, everyone's got a bracket. Everyone knows everything. And then they go right through the brackets and they put all the number one seeds in the Final Four. Then they put the two highest rated teams to the Monday game on April 7th. And then they decide, they flip a coin. Is it Auburn? Is it Duke? And you go back a couple of weeks and you're like, holy shit, how did George Mason get there? How did a number two seed lose in the opening week? That's why we call it March Madness. So we got some time till we fill out those brackets. So I want to give a good shout out, as always, to Tyler Wyatt at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture. Make sure everyone goes and follows him there. 3 o'clock, Lou Finacaro back. Las Vegas Apex this week. UFC Fight Night Fortunes here at 3 o'clock. A shout out to Kyle Mazur for his great work back here. As always, Live Zone Productions and podcasts. Shout out to Elijah Cox as well. Everyone enjoy the day. Come back at 3 o'clock. Talk some UFC. See you soon.